Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And indeed, I brought some friends, as I always do. We're short a couple of panel members. They are running behind, but we, of course, will get to them. Everyone is going to be here. We have a lot to get into. Some big happenings today at the hearing, the first hearing of the FTC versus Microsoft and Activision. Some gauntlets may be thrown down. We're going to be talking about what's going to happen tomorrow, who is going to be brought in to be cross-examined. It turns out that Jim Ryan maybe doesn't care as much about the case because he's not there in person. And I thought originally it was reported that he was going to be there on video. Turns out it was just a taped deposition for Jim Ryan. So a little bit disappointing. I thought we were going to be able to see Jim Ryan kind of in the hot seat, where he was quoted by several people, Lulu Chang being one of them, is, "I don't care about a deal. I just want to block your merger." I thought that has to come up at some point, but we will learn more tomorrow. And I have to say a tremendous shout out to Foss Patents, who had boots on the ground and literally was reporting as it was happening. Unbelievable coverage. Now, I did send out the link to post up. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it, but he does have the invite. Maybe he can give us some insight on the back end. And of course, folks, because I gave PlayStation some smoke, I have to give the same smoke, and rightfully so, to Xbox regarding the announcement that the price of consoles are going up in several regions. Mag, your region is one of them, sir. Now, granted, the consoles I don't agree with. Of course, any price increase I don't agree with, but I understand the Game Pass increase. I understand that $1 more for regular Game Pass. Ultimate is going up by $2. I actually don't have so much of a problem with that because every service has gone up. And to be fair, not making excuses for $2.6 billion or trillion dollar company Microsoft, Sony's service is still $18 and you don't get day and date. So I'm just saying that I don't like the increase on Game Pass, but I understand it, especially if we're going to get Call of Duty content and everything else that's going to come after the Activision deal should go through. But Mag, what's going on, brother? Welcome back from vacation, and what a day to come back on. Price increase on Series S.
Can you imagine?
I'm a little taken aback by that.
I got to tell you, first of all, it's great to be back, and everybody in the chat so far has been super kind. I've just looked down at the chat, and all I see is Mag, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. Yes, I was already back on Monday because I did the show with Colt. I had just come back the day before. So anyways, point is, we're here now. We're here to talk about stuff. And boy, were they not, you know what? It's been a tradition, Boom, since we've been doing this show. Every time there's a primetime gaming, big news always loves to drop.
Yeah,
the day we do, even when the show was on Mondays. Remember that? It was like Mondays, even when we were on Monday nights, there was always a big news break on the Monday. And now that we moved to Wednesdays, it seems like everybody in the industry is going, guys, they moved primetime gaming to Wednesday. Let's move all the announcements to Wednesday before PTG. So anyways, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Some things I'm happy about, some things I'm not happy about. But hey, you know what? It's exciting, right? Can't wait to get into the show tonight. Let's go.
Well, real quick, I think you might have to jump out and jump back in because you were botting pretty bad, actually.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'll do that right now.
So
it sounded okay to me, but
okay.
Maybe hopefully it's okay.
All right, yeah, it's fine. It should be good. Well, listen, Hargeet, what's up, brother? How you feeling? I kind of feel a Source video coming on from Gaz in the group.
Probably. Right?
I mean, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the price increase is never a good thing. I don't like it. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't affect the U.S. fact. We're going to break down a story from The Verge that I have pulled up in front of me, and of course, that comes the way. Who wrote this story? Tom Warren, good friend of this program. Tom Warren was out there with the breaking news earlier today, and folks, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this story. That's why we're opening it up with, because there really isn't much to say. Listen, I'm going to tell you my opinion. I'm going to be fair about it. But Hargeet, we got to get into what's happening with the FTC, because Judge Crowley, is that Crowley? Yes, yeah, is not really happy with some of the things that the FTC are trying to do. I got a couple of quotes from her. To me, and you're laughing because I think you understand we're on the same page here. There were little shots across the bow kind of things. But
I mean, it's to be expected with where they are. I mean, the FTC at this point is unfortunately a joke, and it's pretty Look, there is standard bearers of what our jurisprudence is, and they know that, right? The FTC is just playing games.
Yes.
And they know it's not going to go anywhere. Their own administrative judge was like, what are you guys doing? Why are you even here? And so what do you expect to have happen when it goes to the actual federal courts, where they're like, you have no case. Why am I wasting my time? So it is what it is. It's still not a decided thing. I don't know if it's going to go the right way or not, but it certainly has the inclination that it would go that way. But that's what we all expected, right? Because the law is the law,
right?
And in the U.S., this is a totally different branch. It's not going to listen to what they want to do. That they're going to say, what does the law say? And like, sorry, you just don't have anything here. Goodbye, right? So, and a lot of the things they're bringing up, you're like, what? They made something exclusive when they bought it. Wow. Okay.
I don't know. I mean. I actually think that you've used this ideology before, same as I, and I think we might have done it on PTG. As a matter of fact, I think that we both said something to the effect that when Marvel was purchased by Disney, right? Whoever had Marvel content until the honored contract expired.
Exactly.
Right. Then they made deals with other providers, i.e. Netflix, to have that whole Netflix with the Daredevil and the Punisher and Jessica Jones and such, right? When that deal fell through, no more content was available on that service. So suggesting that Microsoft invest $8 billion in Bethesda and honoring their contracts. As a matter of fact, the only exclusive that has come out since, I think, is Pentiment, right? Is one. I think
Pentiment is Obsidian, but they had
Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Hi-Fi Rush and Redfall so far.
Right. So I don't know why I got that confused. It's so weird.
Yeah, and Ghostwire. The first few games were Ghostwire and Deathloop, and those came out on the competing platform as exclusives. And they honored the deal. It is what it is.
They honored the deal. So since the deal's actually been done, Hi-Fi Rush being one of them, obviously, and that's scored fantastic. And then, of course, Redfall came out. And it is what it is. A lot of people were disappointed. Like I said, I make no excuses for it. It just wasn't a done game. And well, again, we're going to get into the FTC stuff right now, because I think they're kind of ice skating uphill, if you know what I mean, Hargeet and Mag. And but let's get into the price hike, because again, we're going to spend a few minutes on this. I'm going to be honest with you folks. I'm a bit taken aback, but I understand business. I'm not a boob, right? I understand that hardware parts are starting to cost more for some reason, and obviously, we have basically the price of the Series X is going up now. A lot of people are calling foul, Mag, because this comes on the heel of an amazing showcase that had people lining up to buy Xbox Series X. Very similar to what we see happen when a big Sony game is announced, right? Yeah. When they do the shock and awe Sony thing that we know that they're good for, they sell consoles like they're for free. Well, we've been seeing places like Japan, places in America where they're selling out left, right, and center because of what happened at the showcase. So some people are calling foul. Now, according to, again, this is a report from The Verge. It comes the way of our good friend Tom Warren, good friend of the show. The article says this: Microsoft is increasing its Xbox Series X prices in most countries in August, apart from the U.S., Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia. The Xbox maker is also increasing its monthly prices of its Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions for the first time next month, which will see the base of Game Pass, the regular Game Pass subscription, go from go up to $10.99 from $9.99, and of course, Game Pass Ultimate is going to go from $15 to $17. Now, I have a quote here from Kari Perez, who is the head of communications for Xbox, in a statement to The Verge. They say this: "We've held our prices for consoles for many years and have adjusted the prices to reflect the competitive conditions in each market." I mean, it's short. It's maybe not as sweet, to be honest with you, but, Phil Spencer did hint in October of last year, if you remember, where people were kind of questioning him. Like, how long before the price increase happened? And well, it's coming soon. Let's talk price increase for both Game Pass and for console.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. First and foremost, Game Pass up here for Game Pass Ultimate has gone up to $22 a month. So it's up $4, right? So that's relative if you want to look at not relative, but it's a little bit relative in terms of like the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar, right? So, but still, yeah, they jacked it up another dollar on top of the exchange rate, right? So it should be about $3 increase up here, but it ended up being $4. So that's usually what they do. They love to sneak a few dollars more in there. It's just like if you see you buy like a birthday card in a store and it says U.S. price, Canada price, or whatever, right? And then you look at it and it says U.S. price $3.99, and then all of a sudden you look at the Canadian price, says $6.99, and I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense in terms of the exchange rate. It should be $5.99 at most, or maybe $5.50. But anyways, that's what they love to do. They love to squeeze every penny. Now, that being said, Game Pass, yes, again, has gone up to $22. So, that's when people, I'm not saying everybody, I'm currently not subscribed. I unsubscribed for the time being because there was nothing else playing. It was just, like I said it before, it was like, a guy with a gym membership, they got it in January. They're like, I'm going to change my life. And then they go to the gym for 4 days, right? And then you paid for the next 6 months, right? So I'm like, I'm not playing anything right now. So why am I paying for it? You know what I'm saying? So I said, I'll wait till they got stuff back out there. In the fall, if they got everything that I want to play, like I may not play Starfield right away. I told Colt, same thing. I said, because I like to finish my backlog first before I dig into a new game. I don't like to bounce around between games. That's just the way I am. So when I do get into Starfield, yeah, sure, I'll be back into Game Pass. But for some people, that's when, and I know it sounds melodramatic, but for some people, that's a decision that needs to be made, right? Because when you go to the grocery store right now, up here, watermelons are $20 each now. Okay? $20 each. So when people are deciding out there whether to eat or whether to watch TV or whether to play video games, then there are decisions that need to get made. In my personal opinion, this is not the time to do it. And the other thing is, and another thing is that they're doing it before they've dropped these big games, right? You've got Starfield and you got Forza. Now, Forza shouldn't really make much of a difference because they've already released Forza Horizon 5 this generation so far, right? So we've already seen that there under the current price or whatever. But I could see what they're doing, taking advantage of the fact that people want to play Starfield, so they get more people into Game Pass, they get more people paying for it, whatever. I get that part. What I don't like about that part is that, once again, let's face it, guys, I don't care what anybody says. They ain't your friends. Okay, they're not your friends. They're here to make a lot of money, and they're going to do it, and they're going to take advantage by getting you to subscribe or getting people who are not subscribed to subscribe in order to play that game. Because I think that a lot of people would, as we know, that now, people will be buying the game. The hardcore will be buying the game, but a lot of people are going to be getting it on Game Pass, right? So therefore, they're not going to be paying $70 up front. Sure, over the course of like 5 months, you will be getting, just like a casino, they're still going to get your money. You walk in there with $100 and then you won $50. You're like, I'm up. By the end of the night, you're walking out without that $100. They're going to find a way to get that $70 from you, right? And that's what Game Pass is. Game Pass is just like a casino. It's the same deal. Whether you like it or not, they're still going to get you. Same thing with Call of Duty. When Call of Duty comes out, let's say, and the deal goes through and whatever, and blah, 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 and you're like, I'm not paying $70 anymore. As soon as you're on Game Pass for 4 months, you just paid for that $70 for that Call of Duty. I understand other games are there, but that's the thing. But anyways, the point is that maybe now wasn't exactly the time to do this. I think that maybe they should have waited until the game comes out, get a little momentum, get people into the ecosystem or whatever, and hit a magic number like of, let's say, 40 million, 50 million. We discussed this before. The other companies do this. Netflix does this. Disney Plus does this. They wait till they hit 50, 100, 150. When they hit milestones, then they raise the price again, right? But it seems like they're raising the price before they're hitting the milestone, right? So it seems a little bit bizarre to me. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick is, am I good to talk about the console thing? Are we talking about that too, the price increase?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Console and Game Pass. Yeah, you
okay,
take it away.
Now, I just looked at the GamePass.ca, whatever, and I was checking out the prices there. Now, in comparison, you could get like the PS5 God of War Ragnarok bundle for $599, right? Okay, with tax, that works out to just about $700. Well, about just underneath, like $675, something like that, right? So you're looking at that, but now with Xbox, you're looking at $750 Canadian to buy a Series X. When you have a difference of about $60, once again, when it comes to the fact that the world is becoming a much more difficult place to live in for a lot of people, not just the marginalized people, a lot of people are struggling. So the fact that any of us are here right now on computers, playing games, doing what we're doing these live shows, people in the chat listening to this on their devices, count yourself very lucky and blessed, because there's a lot of people out there making hard decisions right now in this world, and they need to be recognized. And the thing is, those people also have kids. Now, I understand that Xbox also has given you the opportunity to be able to enjoy their ecosystem everywhere, right? You can do it on a phone, you can do it on a tablet, you can do it on existing hardware, you can do it through the cloud. That's fantastic for that. But you are still cutting off a certain group of people by raising the price, that people are just going to balk at it. And this to me starting to sound like the beginning of the Xbox One PS4 gen, when the Xbox One was $100 more expensive. And even if people didn't want the PS4, they bought it out of financial prudency, right? So they're looking at it and they're like, oh, well, this is $100 cheaper, I'm going to buy this. Right. And then I think the other mistake was the Series S, which they, the one more thing at the show, I think was a bit of a mistake, was launching that at what, $350, $50 more. Yes, I understand it's a terabyte. I get it. But you're launching it at $50 more than you can get the Series S now. So like this is not the time. I that's my personal feeling. This is not the time to jack the prices. I think what you want to do is you want to continue to grow the ecosystem, get it to where they want it to be, get more people into the ecosystem, get more people excited for what's coming up. No one's doubting what's coming up. You saw the game show or the showcase. They have great stuff coming up. Some of it we don't know when, but it doesn't matter. The point is there's a promise of a good future there. Right, between Starfield and then Forza and Senua's Saga, and then of course Fable and everything else, right? So we all know what's coming. So that's great. But why don't you build the ecosystem a little bit more and get people into the ecosystem, get them excited for what's coming up in the future, and then down the road, maybe you would consider that an option. But I think right now it's a bit of a mistake to be raising the prices, because there's a lot. I've been listening and talking to a lot of people today. And maybe not talking to him as much, but just observing from the outside, because I've been busy today. But I've been looking at a lot of people not very happy, right? And the other thing is I find, and I understand, especially for Americans, they're like, well, at least we're fine. Well, that's great for you, because you're not the whole world. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a huge world out there that's getting screwed.
Look, we gave PlayStation the same business. I think we all were agreeing that it was a bad move for Sony. Sony did it in a way that see, and again, I make no excuses for these million and trillion dollar and billion and trillion dollar companies. I don't work for any of them. But I am going to say I do agree to some extent with Mag. This might not have been the greatest time, but then the question is raised. When is the time? Do they release Starfield to potential 95, 96, 97 meta game of the generation potentially, and then raise the price? I don't like price raising. I tip the cap to the Game Pass thing, because every service, and I mean every freaking service that is out there, raised their prices this year in one way or another. And Game Pass still at $17 is a dollar less expensive than Sony's that doesn't offer day and date. So yeah, I'm not happy with it. I understand that. I don't like Mag. I don't like the price increase. And again, I'm American. Obviously, you folks know that, and I do feel for my foreign brethren, because if we've learned anything, Mag, from real life, which is something that I like to kind of bring into the podcast. Some people, they rub me and they push about when I talk about stupid cream cheese and eggs and stuff. But I mean, and we laugh.
Yeah.
But the first thing that goes in the world when you have a family, when you have bills, when you have insurance, when you have a business, when you have all these things that are happening in the world that does not give you a break, the first thing to go, Mag, is entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to say quickly is that you brought up something about the other services like Netflix and whatever. And look at Disney Plus. I'll get into that in a second. But look at Netflix. Everybody's like, oh, well, Netflix raised their price. Netflix has 250 million subscribers. They've hit magic numbers like a mother effer, okay? So they've hit their targets. Game Pass, as far as we know, we haven't heard recently, they have said openly earlier this year, that they were disappointed with the growth. And then you raise the price when you're disappointed with the growth. That's not the best time to do it. Now look at Disney. Now you had the people speaking back, where Disney was releasing bomb after bomb after bomb. Didn't matter whether it was Marvel, didn't matter whether it's Pixar. By the way, they got another bomb. Now everybody's calling Disney the bomb factory. It's actually kind of funny. They got that new one in the theater right now. It's tracking. I was talking to my friends in LA, in Hollywood. They're saying it's tracking to lose $250 million. This is a Pixar film. But, before John Lasseter left, he was forced to leave, for being falsely accused of whatever. Anyways, and then they're bombing, like crazy. And the thing is, here's what's happening. Now people are not subscribing to Disney Plus because they raised their prices, and people are like, but your content is trash. And so they walked away. So now you got millions of people millions and millions and millions of people have unsubscribed over the last 6 months. You see it all over the news. Anybody want to Google it if they don't think I'm right? Go ahead. And have walked away because the service was garbage, right? But the thing is, up until that point, what they were doing, that's where the problem lies. Netflix is still releasing somewhat decent content, and they still have 250 million plus people across the world that they can do that. I think that what I'm getting at is that with Xbox, I'm not saying that they have bad content. I'm not saying anything. I'm not playing anything on that right now. I will later. However, the thing is, if you're trying to build, not only just an ecosystem, but you're trying to build a fan base, raising a price in the middle of building is not probably the best option. That's all I'm saying. I'm being nice about it too. I'm not even being a jerk about this right now. I could be a lot more aggressive, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to wait and give them the benefit of the doubt right now. But I think that now is not a great time for it. And you could see it echoed in the community. A lot of people aren't happy, but a lot of people are just like, well, it's fine, I guess. That's the other problem. The other problem when people are like, yeah, it's fine. The complacency is what they're banking on. They're banking on the people who wear the hats and wear the shirts and do this and, watch, Aaron Greenberg's, whatever he's eating for dinner all the time on Instagram, whatever, that kind of thing. They're banking on you to just say, oh, it's okay, it's fine, because they want your complacency. Therefore, they want your money, right? So the thing is, in my opinion, they got to back it up. They got to back it up with product now. So you raise the price. Now the ball's in your court. You got to back it up with product. You got to make sure Starfield lands. It looks great.
Starfield. Listen, I'm here to tell anyone that has any doubt about Starfield. I've watched the direct, I think now 10 times, and I will probably watch another 10 times because I'm obsessed. And I'm telling you right now, it's generational. It is something that PlayStation fans, if you don't own an Xbox or a $5,000 rig, I can guarantee you that if you're listening to this show right now, you're probably figuring out a way to buy an Xbox. I'm telling you right now, that's what's going to happen. It's generational. It is going to do things for gaming that we've only dreamed about, and I'm here for it. And now, granted, they have to continue to deliver.
That's the thing. Consistency.
Consistency is the key, and I think that's where we're going to see it start. First of all, welcome, Keasante. Look at that cut.
What's up?
Sharp. What's up, Keasante? How you feeling, brother?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm doing great. I hope you guys can hear me. I didn't even get to do a sound check beforehand. I hope all is well.
You are A.O. fine.
Great
Mr.
conversations being had in the community right now. This is great.
Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation. Again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because obviously it is what it is, but we're going to get opinions. And I do want to get Hargeet's next. Hargeet, before I get to you, brother, let me read some of the super chats that have come in. First of all, Stuff Sean, what's going on, brother? How you feeling? He drops a £2 super chat and says price hike before ABK goes through is big brain move. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm not happy with it, but we are going to talk about it like adults. J-Rock, one of the finest men in the YouTube streets, keeping it safe from all of the Hooved brothers, as Umbra likes to say.
The Hooved brother.
You were going to say the P word. Admit it. You were going to say the P word.
I was thinking about it because he says it a lot, but I don't want to get into that. So I just say I took the low road and I used Umbra, who is of course my brother as well, and he likes to call them his Hooved brothers and sisters. So I use that to be polite. And J-Rock says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Says, do you think they replaced the base Series S with the black 351 terabyte model as a way
100%.
of 1,000%? I actually,
sorry, I didn't. What did he say? I didn't read the rest of it.
He says he's wondering if the the base Series S is being replaced by the black 350.
Oh, sure,
one.
Yeah.
That was their way to
terabytes.
increase the price without increasing the price.
It's exactly like what they're doing here is exactly what Sony did when you couldn't find a PlayStation 5 without the bundle.
Yep.
It didn't increase the price, but you paid more.
Yeah, you paid $50 more because you got the game. Yeah.
So they can say we're not increasing the price here, but the only Series S you'll find is a 350 one.
Yep. All right, so they're cornering it. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's the Sony move.
Yeah, it's well,
it's business.
My enemy is my friend, right? My enemy is my friend. Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, price increase, I think, needed to come before the ABK deal because that could have caused narrative issues later.
The right answer. The right answer. Whoever wrote that, 100%.
Gamer by Choice. He said sounds like it was coming anyway. So yeah.
Because God forbid they do it after it's done. What they're afraid of is someone saying, "Oh, Microsoft is not going to increase prices." Because if that's written anywhere, they can never do that. So you might as well do it now before anyone says you can't.
Very, very true. Mandingo McThickens in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the Disney thing is not due to the price hike. Mm-hmm. It's the woke special community nonsense that
it's a combination.
Sick of, which has translated into bad movies. Yeah, they just got to get back to making movies about characters that we know and love and stories that matter. Listen, it is what it is. But we also have Raw Rebel drops a very generous $2 super chat and says the Series S can't be blamed for Final Fantasy 16. Oh my God, that is scandalous. I love it. But Argy, let's get into Game Pass hike. Let's get into the console. Where do you kind of sit looking at it from a broad perspective? Because obviously we know the countries that are not going to be currently affected by it are the United States. We also have it's not being raised in Japan, it's not being raised in Chile, it's not being raised in Brazil and Colombia, but many locations for consoles is being raised everywhere, and of course Game Pass subscription is going up pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, so good thing for competition, right? Because there is competition. Therefore, for the U.S., we aren't getting a price hike. I think it would have gone up here too, if they could have pulled it off. Like inflation's inflation. It is what it is. Sony had to do this, and so does Microsoft. They didn't really increase the Series S price, but they kind of did by putting in the 1 terabyte version, and they will slowly phase out the supply of the Series S 512. It'll go down, and suddenly, just like it always is, you'll just see, this model is the one that you can buy. So it's very likely that's going to happen. Look, they do give you the option, though. At least you do if you can't afford the higher end, you do still have the lower tier box, which is something cool. But it is, it is what it is. So these console prices are going up because everything is going up in cost. A lot of it is, oil prices go up. Well, manufacturing prices go up. Well, transportation prices go up. These things are built all over the world and then combined, and then they're sold where they can be, right? This is just the way it is. When you have increases in those things, everything else is going to go up in price. So that's just the way it is. We're all feeling it. Like you're saying, a watermelon was what, $20?
$20.
$20.
I mean, this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
So
it's full of water.
It's
and pits.
For crying
And
out
mostly-
loud.
and mostly pits.
Yeah.
Yep. But you're not growing it where you live. That's the problem. That's the problem. If it was grown in your backyard, it wouldn't be $20. That's the difference. It has to be transported from somewhere.
As a guy who
That's
has
the way it
watermelons grown in my backyard, they still make me buy the ones from Chile and send the ones that I've grown in my backyard to Chile.
That's your problem, bud.
You know what I'm saying? Just to charge you more. You know what I'm saying?
So, but either way, so look, it was inevitable, I guess, right? This is just kind of the way things are right now, unfortunately. So everything is going up in price, and this is the way it is. So inflation is inflation. You're gonna feel it. Everybody's gonna feel it. As far as the Game Pass price, look, this is something they kind of had to figure out. Do they want to do this now or in a couple of years because of the current regulatory headaches they're in, right?
Right.
There's a lot of push that you will control the market, you will increase prices, and the world will end. Okay, well, fine. Let's just get this out of the way now, and then say it's not about. And they said that it's not about ABK. We're just doing this because we have to do this. Fine. Okay, cool. But it really is about ABK because they can't really do it afterwards. So they're just doing it now, and it wasn't even about the ABK content. It's just that the regulators are so stupid that they're making this an issue. So if they're going to make this an issue, then they have to do it ahead of time, right? And then if the regulators say, well, we told you were going to increase prices, we're never going to let you buy anything again. It's like, no, we increased it before, right? This was nothing to do with the actual merger, right? So unfortunately, this is just the way of the world. This is all stupidity that just has to happen. I agree with you, Mag. This is a bad time from an economics perspective.
That's
Unfortunately
saying,
for Microsoft, they're in the middle of the $70 billion deal, and they just got to just do it. It is what it is. It sucks, but that's the way it is, right? So if they could have kept it for a while, they would have. But unfortunately, with the way things are, they have to get this done before the regulators are able to. So this just gives the regulators that, you can't move it from here for 5 years. Okay, fine. We're good. Fine. Fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I could see that being a thing. Yeah. But I'm seeing,
So-
look at it from the ground level. Look at some of the other people. And I've
Sucks,
seen
dude.
this today. They're
Sucks all the way. Yeah.
They're Microsoft just laid off 10,000 people, but they're raising prices over here, right? I'm just saying this is a rhetoric that's going around, right or wrong. I'm just saying this is how people think, right? So it's just the perception at that point. That's all.
I mean, for that, you could say they made $100 billion in freaking profit in the year. It's like, do you?
Of course, yeah.
People you just dumped $70 billion to buy another company. Jesus Christ, dude. $70 billion is more than the GDP of the bottom half of the goddamn world.
I know. Yeah.
We'll just dump that to buy something. Jesus, dude. Anyway, I mean,
but we can't afford to pay you
the size of the UK's GDP. That's how ridiculous that is. But anyway, whatever. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, I think it essentially is just they're doing this so that the ABK deal, if the regulators are going to be pissy about it, it's fine, we'll lock it here for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But they did their price increase now to get it out of the way.
Yep.
And now they can have those negotiations because the last few, it's the UK and the FTC, right? So they just need to kind of figure out what to do with these, few and get it out of the way, right? So hopefully this just means that they can talk to the UK and say, hey, you know what, we've locked things in. You want us to put in some stipulations that we won't increase prices, and we'll always give for free for the next 15 years to all the cloud providers. Fine, whatever. Just let's write something down and you're happy and let's move on, right? But so I think that's what this is. That they're just putting these things into place so that they can have those discussions, and move forward. So we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of what my gut says, that's why this is. The $350 for the new Series S was obviously the way they increased the price of that, and the Series X. It's kind of interesting, Mag, that the Series X is more expensive now than the PS5 in Canada. That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not all of them. They have, for example, the Final Fantasy 16 bundle. I looked at that. Is the same price as the Series X increased price.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm thinking it is,
still, right?
It's almost seems like they price it depending on what the newest game is, right? So Ragnarok is now approaching 8 months old or whatever it is, right? So they're okay, well now, so it's $5.99 for that, a Canadian, right? So so it's cheaper. But the thing is, if you're buying a console's a console. Right. Yeah. And if you already had God of War Ragnarok or whatever, but it comes bundled in there, well, you still saved your almost near $100, $60, $70, whatever. That'd be a cheaper console in the end. Right. So
yeah.
I don't know. Just
is what it is, but that's kind of where it is. It sucks. I'm not going to defend it, but I understand it. It is what it is. It was the same with Sony. It was like, I don't like it, but I understand inflation's inflation. And the only thing they couldn't move the price in the US because they actually had good competition with the Xbox. And now in reverse, the same thing happened, right? PlayStation didn't increase the price here. So Microsoft can't increase the price here. Competition's always good. It just makes it easier.
I agree.
But it is what it is. So
No, I mean, great point. And obviously, we're going to come back around to everyone, obviously, because we're going to be covering what's been going on. A lot of new information, specifically when you consider, Jim Ryan's original stance on, we don't have a contract, and obviously he cried to he flew around the country, like we all over the world, trying to proclaim that this deal was bad for Sony, it was going to put them out of business. Turns out that Foss Patents last week learned some information. I don't know how this guy finds this, but he might be a robot too, because he found out in a private conversation that Jim Ryan said after the announcement of the deal last January, folks, that he had no concern that Call of Duty was going to be taken away from PlayStation because they're the lead platform. Kind of different than what he went out to say, since obviously he was out there, crying to the universe. And obviously this comes off the heels of, I don't care about a deal, I just want to block your merger. So yeah, it's probably not going to go too good. And I hope the FTC doesn't use that, as evidence rhetoric, because they're already in deep water. We will get to that in a second. Asante, come on, man. We were talking this afternoon. Well, what are your hot takes on the price increase? Where do you sit? Where does it sit with you?
I mean, I agree with everybody on this panel. I agree with Hargeet. That was my initial take on it as well. It's not to do with ABK, but it is to do with ABK, because because think about it, the minute the regulatory bodies speak something into the universe, you have to make that thing they speak exist. So if they say, oh, well, we're gonna, just like they said, oh, we didn't see any reason to make console SLC a thing, because Microsoft has no incentive to make Call of Duty exclusive. The very nature of them saying that means Call of Duty is now going to be multi-plat forever, because someone said that from a regulatory perspective, right? So their fear is, because we already know we're in the end game of ABK, right? Their fear is during the course of this back and forth, somebody goes, well, maybe some concessions are necessary. Maybe some price regulation for a certain amount of time will help ease the burden and let people feel comfortable about this going through. If someone were to say that, then they have to go down that path. And then, as Hargeet says, it'll be 10 years before you'll get a chance to increase the price again, right? So whether you like it or not, let's just get that thing out of the way right now, so it's not a factor in the equation. You want us to give you a promise of not increasing? We can do that now because we've already done it, right? But beforehand, before we go into this final battle, this final conversation, this final debate with all the stakeholders of this ABK thing, we don't want to have something like this available that they can then use against us. So while I agree with you, Mag, I 100% agree with you that it was bad luck, bad timing. Microsoft just seems to have this amazing ability to always find the worst time to do certain things. It wasn't something they could have avoided, because had they done this, had they waited and gone to their regulators, because I mean, there were hearings today that we didn't get to hear about. There were hearings today. They are afraid that somebody in a position of power will say something that will force them to not be able to do what they want to do, which is increase prices or be business like everyone else. So as much as it sucks, and I agree that it sucks, and they deserve the smoke, we're consumers. We don't give two rats, about why you're doing what you're doing. You're taking more money out of my pocket. I don't like it, right? We need to speak on it, right? But I can only get so animated about it because they give you, like we've already saw it, they give you so many options to avoid that. The first thing I did, and pro tip, the first thing I did when I heard this was, okay, deals.gg bought 4 cards. I am now paid up till 2026. I'm going to second that notion, ladies and gentlemen. He's paid up to 2026. I sent the code to Everborn Saga. He's paid up to 2026. You want to be paid up to 2026? Check the Twitter account. Anyone can go and keep this thing from becoming a problem that you have, right? It's not like others that force you to pay the price that they're forcing you to pay. Yes, it's out there, But to this very day, you can go buy a $25 in America, $25 3-month ultimate card, stack it because they let you stack it.
Yes.
And now I'm here paid up until 2026. So can I be upset about it? Yes. Do I have smoke for them? Yes. Is the smoke righteous? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's not the only way to get in and play the games you want. So as much as I think they deserve that smoke, and I do think they deserve it, I can't get animated in my anger. I'm just kind of disappointed because I wish this had not happened the way it did.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000%. And interestingly enough, all joking aside, I was saying this to Mrs. Boone when we were talking. I was like, honey, I can't believe I'm paying. And then the numbers came into play. 6, 6, 26. And I'm like, no, not 3, 6.
You made a deal with the devil, did you?
I must have done it. I didn't sign anything.
And Asante was the one who put you up to it. That means that he is the Phantom Menace.
Well, he went to go get his horns trimmed. So
there it is. That's it.
All
Hellboy.
you need is at the bottom years.
They didn't increase the price of PC Game Pass.
No, they didn't.
One of the growth areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so one of the growth areas is that, and that at least Phil mentioned that.
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And to that point, Hargi, I've been hearing folks in the chat going, "Oh, they increased it because the price of Game Pass or Game Pass is not Game Pass is profitable." As recently as less than a month ago, Phil Spencer said not only is Game Pass profitable, but the whole Xbox ecosystem is trajectory higher than it was during the 360 gen. So there's no way on earth they would be looking at what they're seeing as far as numbers wise and complaining, right? This is a business move, plain and simple.
Yeah, it is.
And I hope, like, after ABK is out of the way, because they obviously had to do this ahead of time, that this holiday they'll do some bigger moves here and say we're going to get rid of gold, right? So that this is going to replace that, and that's I'm hoping what this is.
By the way, another piece of the puzzle, family plan.
Hello.
When's that coming?
Hopefully happens.
That's going to come now because they've increased the price, right?
And I don't know if the price of that would go up. Do you think it will?
Oh, I think that would stay the same to kind of push people to that because
exactly
prices,
like
you know
17 or 25. Now you get
also
like
also the rumored cheaper plan. I still think is in play here.
That might be coming,
right?
With
maybe
ads,
only cloud, maybe only a console with ads. All that's in place.
I was about to ask you, do you think
standard price is now higher?
I was going to ask you, do you think ads will be a thing?
Oh yeah. Remember, they bought Xandr. They're serving ads to Netflix now.
Right, that's what I'm saying, because them and Disney was entertaining it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
So yes,
and it was,
I do agree
as I remember,
that
it was like
this price will
it
be
wasn't
expensive.
day and date, right? It didn't include EA. It didn't include all the third parties. It included some, but mostly
it's almost like a library for first party.
And also, I don't think it included cloud. But so you had like it was like a Series S add-on, right? That you could have ads, and it would be like $5-6 a month. So it was pretty
something
cheap,
like that.
Yeah.
I think with this price increase, all those other options are very much in play, and they're going to be very much in play soon. We're just waiting for ABK's dust to settle. I bet. In addition to everything else that you're going to hear announced, when the ABK dust settles, one way or another, you'll get the family plan because now the price is at a certain level where they have. Right? Yes, I honestly think that's the last piece of the puzzle what kept the family plan from showing up, because all these other countries had the family plan. It hadn't shown up here yet, right? We have a price increase now. I suspect the family plan will be here as a marketing counteract to, oh, by the way, you don't like the extra $1 or the extra $2. It's business. It sucks, but I can't get too animated because there are still options.
Yeah.
Well, listen, folks, we got, first of all, hopefully, if I see a lot of new faces here, a lot of new names I've never seen.
I saw that too. I noticed that too. A lot of new faces in the chat tonight.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, folks, we are 300 and change away from 13K. And if you are finding the channel for the first time, I do this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all different panels, all different shows, all great content. And listen, we don't sell hate. We don't, a hate narrative to get you to click, to get you to like. We're doing it the old school way. We're having fun. We're talking about video games. We give the righteous smoke when it's necessary. But even though we do give some harsh, sometimes very harsh criticism, we do it in a manner that's understandable. It's not a bunch of people yelling into a mic or yelling over each other, trying to get their point across. So if you would like to help us get to 13K, please hit the subscribe button. And of course, while you're here, we're closing on 700 people. Mag used to say it. We had a hard time getting 100 people in here.
I remember those days. 85, 85, 90 people. Yeah, and look at us, and look at now. And then even actually before the showcase, we cracked 1,000, didn't we?
We did. We actually the highest we ever got was like 1,300 in the live. I mean, that's Colt Eastwood numbers, for Christ's sake. I mean, that's bonkers. So please consider subscribing. But listen, folks, we got to get into, of course, ABK, because right now some big bombs are happening, and obviously there were a couple of people that I suggest you go out and follow on Twitter. Foss Patents is one of them. Obviously, he was boots on the ground in the courtroom, covering it and updating us all day. Unbelievable work. And of course, good friends of Foss and myself and a lot of people on this panel. Post Up is another fine community gentleman who has been doing his due diligence to keep us all updated when it comes to ABK. And I'm going to start first here with Hargeet. Hargeet, there. Wow. I mean, first of all, we all understand that yesterday was a bit of a powder keg because of something that happened with Axios and Steven Totillo, who, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know Steven. I do know Axios. I like what they do over there. I like what he does. But yesterday, he kind of made a bit of a boo-boo, and he half-heartedly apologized for causing a bit of a kerfuffle, if you will, regarding a 2019 email from Matt Booty, where it was stated that they want to put Sony out of business. And of course, everyone ran with this. In fact, Matt Booty is going to be called as to testify at this FTC case. And to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to make mention of it because it was before they even owned Bethesda. So, of course, it was taken out of context, as these things do. And, of course, now we have some information of, what's going on currently at the hearing today. And one of the, I don't know, for me anyway, I thought it was a bit of a shots fired situation, Hargeet. Now, Judge Corley, who's overseeing this, who, if you don't know who she is, she's a part of the 9th District Court. She's a federal judge. She oversaw the gamers lawsuit, which of course was ultimately kiboshed. She also denied the injunction, which is very similar to what's happening with the FTC. The FTC is asking Judge Corley to do an injunction to block Microsoft from closing the ABK deal, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen because obviously in federal court with, federal judges, not what's in your belly counts, law counts and facts count, and nothing that the FTC has done. They're basically limping into court. I'm almost embarrassed for them. Well, this is what happened. According to several people familiar with the case, in an exchange with FTC lawyers, Corley says she's inclined to give Microsoft in-house counsel access to some of the evidence it doesn't want them to see. Now, the evidence that's in question is evidence that the FTC is trying to use as a quote-unquote smoking gun, but they don't want to show Microsoft. And in regards to that, this is what she had to say, Hargeet. And tell me if I'm wrong if you feel the shots across the bow kind of a thing. We don't rule on parties with secret evidence. That's not just what we do in this country.
Yep.
Yikes.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was viable. I thought anything from the government, if they're going to bring a prosecution against you, they have to give the defendant all the evidence, right? They have to give them everything that's available. I'm not sure that that's the case in this specific thing, but I would expect it's still federal court. It's got to follow federal rules. I'm surprised that they're able to hold anything. I think the counsel is supposed to have access to anything so they can make a defense for it. But either way, I expect her to say exactly that. Then the judge should say, wait a minute. Why aren't you giving this to them? That's not who we are. So you need to give that information to them. This whole thing just stinks. I don't like, there's no procedural norms here. It's just all weird. Like why this is even happening, but okay, whatever. Onto the email. I guess we should probably talk about that first. First, I like that. I want them to say that. I've been wanting Microsoft to say, we need to freaking fight Sony, and we're going to work on ways to take them. That's what you want them to do. That's what competition's about, right? Why wouldn't I want that? I want them to say that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's wrong if they do something anti-competitive, against them, but that's not what they're doing, right? They're saying we're going to have this strategy.
Well, but Hargi,
to
be fair though, the reason why they're using this as hey is not that we don't want that competition, but because Microsoft themselves are Mr. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're mea culpa. Just the same way that Jim Ryan's like, we didn't get a good deal, even though in the back room they're saying we don't want a good deal, right? Mm-hmm. They kind of thought that this was one of those, even though it really isn't. You know what I'm saying?
And on one side, yes, that's true, right? Mm-hmm. This is Matt Booty talking to, was it the financial officer, something like that, right? Yeah. Not Phil, not Satya. But you're right, there is some of that. But come on,
it's not the same level. That it's not the same level. This? Absolutely not.
Right? Yeah. There is an external here's what we're going to say to the customer. And then there's the internal, this is how we're screwing the competition, right? That is just the way it is. If you didn't know that about business, you're a dumbass, because that's just the way it is. Everybody does this. They all understand what their competition is doing, and they're all looking for ways to gain market share against their competition. Everybody's kumbaya on the outside. Nobody's kumbaya when it comes to the dollar.
Well, the difference is Microsoft specifically says they're kumbaya on the outside.
A lot of people say that.
Well,
a lot of people say that.
Sony doesn't.
We're very happy.
Sony doesn't.
Our competitor. Yeah, come on.
But Sony doesn't. They don't. And let me be clear with you. I agree with you. I'm 100% on your page. I think that's what people are using as gotchas. Oh, well, you said you're approachable, and look what you said in the back room.
And they are. They're approachable, and they still try to give some credence to their competitors, and they still put product on their competitive platforms, right? Mm-hmm, fair enough, right? They are better than that on that than most of their competitors. Yeah. Fair enough, but ultimately, come on, they had better. Because look, ultimately, Xbox has to respond to the shareholders, and if the shareholders are saying you're here to just be nice to everybody else, I want my investment to have a return, please.
Exactly.
I don't care about that.
Yep.
So ultimately, they got to do what Matt Booty was doing. So I like seeing that. That's exactly what they're good. That's what I want to hear. Good. You should be looking at strategies on how you're going to take Sony down a peg. That's what I want to see. Right. So now make it happen. And some of the things they're doing hopefully do get into that direction. I love that. Legally, that's exactly what companies should do. So that's not something you can use against them, right? So to have a strategy against your competitor is like de facto business. So if they didn't have one, I'd say they're incompetent. So they better have had one. They better have had a strategy on how do we counter this from Sony, because Sony's doing it. Sony's doing it, and they are outright about it. They're doing it. They've been pretty clear that they want Microsoft gone. They want Xbox out. They have been clear about that. So look, why wouldn't the competitor do the same thing? So I think that email is a whatever. Who cares? That's exactly what they should be doing. You can't use that against them unless they've done something illegal, which they have not. So ultimately, that's for them to figure out, but it's a joke. It's from 2019 when they're trying to figure out how do we compete against Sony when Sony was kicking the living crap out of them, right? It's fine. That's what they should do. What is the strategy? How do we make it better? Good, right? So that's the email. As far as this trial, as it was with the cat, as it is with almost any of these where they finally get to go to court, you find out that all these things are based on nothing. And
big nothing burgers.
Their cases are so useless. And, assuming everything goes correctly, right, and the judgments are done correctly, it's going to go in Microsoft's favor. But look, I can't guarantee that. The judge is seemingly on the right side of everything here. But again, you can't just make assumptions. It could go the other way. We'll see what the FTC comes up with. So far, it's been pretty lackluster. So we'll, the trial starts with tomorrow, right? And then it goes on through next week. And then we'll find out. Hopefully, within a couple of weeks, we'll have a decision as to where we are and whether they move forward or not. And it's looking okay. I would say that it's looking okay, right? But don't make any victory laps right now.
No accounting for crazy.
You never know, right? And so but again, everything, even with the cat, everything was looking good, right? And so we're hoping for good things, but you never know, right? So I'm hoping that like this decision goes the right way. The PI is not granted. They close within a week or so. Like they have to wait 5 days after
You have
that.
to wait 5 days after
Right.
the initial confirmation that she's not going to order the
A PI,
injunction.
right?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
5 days.
And once that's done, that the CMA just comes in and says, all right, let's just talk, right? Because it, seemingly on that side, it doesn't look good for the CMA either. So maybe they finally just come to the table and say, okay, you will not increase prices for cloud, essentially Game Pass Ultimate, for 5 years or whatever it is, right? And that's a good thing. That's fine. That's cool. Like it's a good consumer benefit, right? So, but maybe it's just something like that, and that's why they increase the price now. I'm hoping that's what this turns out to be. But yeah, I mean, the judge is doing what the judge is supposed to do. A lot of these things are pretty standard. It's just odd that we're in a weird, like if this was like the FTC of 10 years ago, I don't think this case would look anything like this, right? First, they probably wouldn't have brought the case, but if it was a legit case, they would have a lot of good evidence, and that's why usually the FTC would win, because they were bringing good cases. So this is all just weird. It is what it is. We'll go through this and see where it ends up. Hopefully it ends up the right place. I would not like it to be where the FTC wins, only because I hate the precedent. I don't want them to set this precedent that they could do stupid things like this and cause all sorts of havoc, right? This country is intended to make it so that business works, so people get jobs. That's the whole point, right? So I don't like the idea of them doing weird things just because they're big names and I don't like it. Like that's not good enough. Right.
If Microsoft loses, it would be way more big. It'd be a bigger deal than just video games.
Yeah, it is
way bigger
about video games.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's so beyond that. I want to add some more context to getting your hot take on this, because again, this is from Florian Muller, FOSS Patents on Twitter, who you should be following. He goes on to say this argument: the FTC does not want any of Microsoft or Activision's witnesses to testify about the pro-competitive effects of the agreements with the likes of Nintendo, that they have in deals that they have made with the likes of Nintendo and the EC remedies. But Judge Corley is not prepared to rule on this out of context. So it kind of seems like she is not buying what the FTC is selling.
Yeah, and it's yet another weird thing, right? So I guess they're looking just for a PI and say, okay, fine, we will have the the full trial later, and they can bring all this later. But it's like, look, you're really looking to block this from being anywhere close to being done, because it's going to take a long time to do your process, and it will be hard for the companies to handle that. So essentially, you just don't want them to be able to prove their case. But that's just not the way jurisprudence works. So again, this is just weird. If somebody needs to bring somebody in to say this is why you should not do this, that's part and parcel of a defense. And again, it blows my mind that they're even asking for these kind of things. It's just like, what? You're not going to allow an evidentiary person to
didn't she?
A witness to come?
Wasn't she quoted in an interview, Hargeet, saying that they don't need evidence to block a deal?
She did say, and that of course is baloney. That's not how America works.
Yeah,
but anyway, but that's how she works. And again, this is why we have checks and balances, right? She's bringing in a witness. Jim Ryan is a witness. She's bringing, like, really? So they can't rebut that? Okay. Anyway, it's all just nuts. I don't understand any of this. It's just crazy. This is why when the EU, right, the EC said, well, we have to do things based on law and what can be held up in court. That's a dig to these people. Like, what are you doing? There's no basis. You have to have reality checks. But whatever. So we will see where this goes. But I hope it ends the right way and we're closer to getting this thing out of the way and then move on to the next acquisition. And we have another couple of years of this crap. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But I think ultimately what we're starting to see already, and remember today, folks, is just the pre-trial hearing that had a lot of fireworks. I think the precedence that has been set by the judge or Judge Corley, to want to say her name properly, seems to be is we're going to swiftly move through this.
Yep.
We are going to look at all the evidence that's being presented, and we're going to make a decision based on fact.
Yep.
And
Much
if
like
that,
what you were hearing in the cat, right? The judge there was saying the same thing. We're not here to do what we used to do. We're here to do what's right. We're gonna listen to all the facts. We're doing it swiftly, right? We're gonna get through this, right? So same thing, right? So they're both saying the same thing.
yeah, it sounds like it does sound like the same thing. Pretty interesting stuff. But let's bring in the Mag. Mag,
Yes, sir.
I want to pull a couple of quotes that Florian put out there in his extensive posting. And the first one, he goes on to say this, Magnus, folks, this really, I mean, I don't know about you. I understand people like, oh, ABK, boom, we talk about games. I've been gaming for 40 plus years, and I have never been more intrigued about anything than I am with this. Not because I'm a bot. It's because this is a $70 billion deal. I'm never going to see anything like this in my lifetime, probably ever again. I mean, never say never, but this is pretty intriguing. Well, here are a couple of quotes that Florian put out there. And the first one says this, Mag. Microsoft's lawyer, who is, of course, representing Xbox and Microsoft, her name is Beth Wilkinson. She explained to the FTC that they did not raise the issue of Microsoft having asserted privilege over some of the documents until yesterday. So they kind of tried to, drop a bomb on Xbox. Like you guys didn't say anything yesterday. What happened today? Well, according to Florian, it looks like the FTC is engaging in gamesmanship now because of those agreements and the EC remedies. They actually matter. Now, he goes on to say Judge Corley repeatedly clarified that this is a bench, not a jury trial. So it's not like the admissibility of the testimony must be clarified beforehand to the same extent. She can always strike something from the record if she chooses.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's very interesting, for sure. And so based on what we've already heard from Hargeet and what we just heard from Florian, what are your takes when it comes to the FTC seemingly they do not want the evidence to be proven, because I think ultimately it just destroys their case.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because you just brought it up, the fact that the judge can actually strike down any evidence as she sees fit, because there isn't a jury that they can go back to and deliberate and say, you know what, let's look at both sides of this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. What they're trying to do now is that they're trying to, in a way, corner the market, so to speak. So what they're doing is that they're trying to edge the conversation into their own lane so that they can get into her mind, into her head, into, you know what I mean, to try and sway her into the same lane that they're basically driving in, right? So that's what they're trying to do. So there's a term for it, and I can't remember for the life of me what the term is. They use it a lot in media, and what that is like on news media, news anchors, people doing interviews, anything like that. What they like to do is that they ask specific questions in a very specific way to angle you down a certain path so that you say something, so that your answer is what they're looking for, right? Or what the person who's doing the interview, what their fans are into, right? So what they do is that they basically, it's almost like a form of like social manipulation, right? So by withholding any kind of, I don't want to say evidence, but like I guess it is evidence in a way, and basically trying to release it the way they see fit, they're trying to control the narrative in court. And by doing so, they're trying to do, once again, what I had just described as social manipulation, because she could be a time bomb, okay? The judge could just be like, nope, garbage, get out of here. She'll give a reason for it. But she has the option to be able to strike it down instantly without having to sit there for 3 days and going, oh, geez, I wonder what they're thinking about in there. Because let me tell you something. If anybody knows anything about jury law, is that the longer they deliberate, the better the chances you have, because people start to second guess their answers and their thoughts and their opinions, right? Because then all of a sudden you're like, that guy's guilty. Forget it. It's done. Whatever. Then they go to bed that night. And then they wake up the next morning and they're eating a croissant at their continental breakfast. And then all of a sudden they're going, well, maybe, right? And it gets into your head. But this is not the case. So they have to nail it. They basically have to hit it out of the park instantly. There is no chance for second guessing at this point because it is one woman. By the way, Hargeet, that backdrop, every once in a while I see two Japanese guys behind you, and I'm almost going to say, look out, Hargeet, they're coming to get you. Because if you look behind you, you see these two guys standing there in suits. They look like they're about to arrest
the Nintendo Direct.
Is it the Nintendo Direct?
It's
My
the
old
Nintendo
eyes
Direct.
can't see that.
They had their Direct today, which was also very good.
Oh,
But,
okay. Well,
I was reminded, Mag, by what you were saying. Is it
Yes.
12 Angry Men, the movie?
yes.
Where they do just that, like he just kept dragging it on and they just
Yes.
started converting. Like maybe
Yep.
he's real. Hold on a
12
second.
Angry Men. 12 Angry Men was a stage play turned into a musical, or not a musical,
Yeah.
excuse me, turned into a Broadway show, turned into a film, which has been done multiple times. And that is a strategy, right? A strategy is to be able, the longer you drag it out, the more people start to second guess their decisions, right? It's just like an impulse buy. Why do you think they put stuff at the front of the store? Right? So that on your way out the store, you're like, I do need this. And then you grab it and throw it in your cart and then you pay for it. But if you had to sit back and think about it for 3 days, you're like, did I really need, a naked lady shaped water bottle for the gym? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stupid things like that. And that's the kind of stuff that like gets in your head. But so that's why the FTC, I got to say, Boom and Hargeet and Asante and Chat, that's why the FTC is nervous. And that is why they're acting the way they are. And it's because they know they do not have that advantage in this particular case. Now, the other thing is they're acting, in my opinion, what I've seen is they're acting incredibly erratically right now. Like right now, I don't know if you guys saw this, that the FTC is trying to sue Amazon, saying that they were manipulating customers into subscribing to Amazon Prime. What?
Didn't even see that. I didn't even see that.
Boom! Check it out. FTC is suing Amazon as of today, saying that they are manipulating customers into subscribing to Amazon Prime. What planet are these people? Hargeet, they're behind you. Look out! Sorry, they were right there again. What planet are these people from? It's Amazon. They're offering you a service, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
They're not putting a gun like. What's his face is not showing up at my door with a gun and be like, you're going to subscribe today, right? It's not, there is no manipulation going on there. They're offering you a service, you take it or leave it, right? That's almost like it seems like Spotify is, manipulating me into, subscribing to their service because I like, whatever, the top hits of today or whatever. That's not how it works. So they're acting erratically over there. They're going to lose that case against Amazon. That is 100% going to happen. Okay, because I was looking into that, and even Amazon kind of scoffed at it. They're like, they literally have no grounds. So, Boom, if you want to check that out after the show, take a look at it. Now, the other thing is, interestingly, again, the court of law, okay, you have to present, this is the other thing that what you guys were talking about earlier, you have to present all evidence to the opposition. Okay, that's just the way it is to the defendants and everything else. Everything has to be presented. The fact that they tried that, and then, of course, the judge said straight up, this is not how we operate, folks, all right? Leads me to believe, once again, that they are trying to manipulate and push everything into their lane in order to get, like I said, any form of social manipulation. It's not going to happen. This is the judge that you needed and wanted for this case. If you want this thing to go through, this is the judge you wanted, right? So, that like I said, that's what they're doing there. So you could see that they literally have no legs to stand on, and it seems to me that there's a lot of inexperience and a little bit of desperation in there, right? They're trying to save face at the same time. That's what I'm seeing here. Now, the other thing, the last thing I'm going to touch on before we pass on to Asante is this email business. I could see how the FTC, now from the FTC's point of view, I could see what they're trying to do. Now, if you look at it from their point of view, they could say, you know what? This is a hot angle for us. Because what it does, in their mind, they present this, assuming that it gets presented, but let's just say for argument's sake it does, right? What it does is that it presents, they can look at it and say, you see, that's the mindset of these people. The minute we give them this, we allow this deal to go through, they are going to quote, and then they're going to quote that email and say, we are going to drive Sony out of business, or whatever the hell the quote was. I read it earlier today. I couldn't remember the exact wording. Okay, I was just paraphrasing, right? And they're going to say that is their mindset. That is what they want to do. So what it shows is intent. right? So from their point of view, the FTC can turn around and say, this, dear judge, your honor, they won't say dear judge, they'll say your honor, is that this is their mindset, this is their intent, and this is what they're going to do if we allow it to go forward. Even if they don't, they could say the possibilities and the dangers of them doing so is there, regardless of the fact that they're making deals and this and that, whatever. That's why this whole thing came up. That's what I think. Anyway, whether it's admissible or not, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I am well versed enough that I could get by. But the thing is, it's just that's the reason why they're going to do that. Now, the judge, unlikely to be fettered by this whole situation because she seems to have an incredibly level head. So I think that FTC is going to have a real rough ride here, and I think within the next few weeks it's going to be approved with some. I don't know. Maybe they'll just go just the way it is without anything else. But I think that it's just going to go through within the next few weeks, and then that's all there is to it. But yeah, I mean, at first I was worried about it. And I'm like, you know what? They tried to block it. No, they tried to sue. What did they try to do? They tried to sue the FTC with Microsoft. Was that what it was? And then they tried to just so they weren't able to
They wanted to get a TRO, right? Which
yes.
is
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't. I'm tripping over my own words. Yeah.
Yeah. To get to the trial to go over, can they do an injunction, right?
Yes. Okay.
And the TRO in general, like half the time it'll be given
standard fare.
Just so they can get to the trial. The trial was set for a week or two later, right? So it's not that big a deal. Mm-hmm. So just hold off. Let's talk about this. We'll get the injunction or not, and then it'll be decided, right? So so they got the TRO, which that makes sense. That's fine.
Which in the grand scheme of things worked out in Microsoft's favor anyway, because without the TRO, we'd still be waiting.
Yep. Correct.
Right.
So ultimately it worked out in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah. Listen, we're real
I don't
quick.
know if you caught this, Boom, was the judge was like having fun and joking with.
She was joking.
Activision and Microsoft lawyers. I don't know if you caught those pieces, but
that was actually the first. She opened up with it. First of all, she's normally very prompt, and she was out of the country, from what I understand. Yesterday, she's back for the trial. And she said something to the effect of about there being the two attorneys for Xbox for Microsoft and 3 attorneys for Activision that will eventually be attorneys for Microsoft. She said something in which is hilarious.
We might all be working for Microsoft.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh, and by the way, her son works for Microsoft.
Yes, she does.
Ooh, I wonder if they use that as like a
no. She actually made mention of it from.
Yeah, she did.
She said that just so you know, my son does work for Microsoft, but that is not going to have any burden on the case whatsoever. We're gonna.
No, but I'm just saying the FTC could cry foul and say, "Hey, there's a conflict of interest here within the family."
Yeah, let them.
They could.
Oh, they can. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that.
I don't think they're going to want to say that to a federal judge, especially considering that she's honorable and she's had no issues in her entire judicial career. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I personally wouldn't say that, but the FTC is run by someone who's very young who might tell the lawyers you should say this, and maybe the lawyers say it. I don't know. Listen.
Yeah.
Asante, before we get to you, brother, I got to catch up on the super chats. Been so many of them. We have actually several from Buck. The first one, he drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Boom, why is the FTC has subpoenaed Pete Hines to testify in federal court about a decision to make Starfield a new IP exclusive when the FTC themselves approved Bethesda deal with no concessions? This is madness." Yeah, what the FTC is attempting to do, because they don't really have a case here, folks, is they're trying to equate Starfield being an exclusive as to Microsoft going back on their word that when they bought Bethesda, they said several that current IPs would stay on PlayStation as they have, right? There's plenty of Bethesda games on PlayStation 5, right? I mean, they kept up on all their contracts. Deathloop was exclusive for a year. Ghostwire Tokyo was exclusive for a year. And then after that, well, I mean, Sony isn't owed anything. Microsoft owns the company now. And I do hope that it does come out in this particular trial that Sony tried to lock up Starfield as a permanent exclusive. That's a known fact, folks. So why is it okay for Sony and and they can just lock deals down and everyone cheers on Final Fantasy 16, just to name a few, and it's cheered upon by the gaming community. It's cheered upon by gamers, but when Microsoft just buys the whole farm instead of the cow, it's a problem. So it is a double standard. It's weak sauce at best. But I do have some more quotes here for you. So I mean, let's get into it, Asante. And again, I got to give credit where credit is due. Florian Muller, FOSS Patents on Twitter. Man, you should be following this dude because yikes. So he goes on to say this, and I listen. We know Florian is for this deal. Most of us are for this deal. He's not getting paid by Microsoft. Has he worked for Microsoft? Sure, he has. But I think on a personal level, he just wants to see what's right be done what's right. So this is what he says, Asante. The FTC is clearly afraid of losing all of its facts, particularly concerning Microsoft's agreements with Nintendo and cloud streaming providers, as well as the related remedies for the EU. And they don't, again, as you know, the FTC does not want these put on the table or mentioned because they feel it's not relevant. I don't understand that. That to me is madness, because of course it's relevant. He says in the second part of it, not only doesn't it look like Judge Corley is going to let the FTC play that kind of game, but it's also highly unusual. It's more common for private parties, companies defending themselves against the FTC, to play such tactical games. A government agency should not act like that. I mean, is it because they're grasping at straws?
Like this, and I won't belabor the point too much, because I think the panel members have done a great job in explaining the situation as it is. This situation is, I feel very deja vu with all of this, because when we came here, all of us that are on this panel now, we were here on this very air when this thing was first announced, and we first heard that the FTC was having problems with it. And what did we say? Oh, this looks like big tech bad, and they're just trying to fill in the gaps, right? And in this instance as well, I see. The mag was talking about how Amazon is being sued by the FTC. I happen to catch a bit of that myself.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly the same thing there. To your point, every argument they're making, it's hard to buy something without subscribing to Amazon. If you go to try and unsubscribe, you have to go through multiple pages, and they'll make you verify if you're sure you really want to. It's they're purposely making it difficult so that you don't have the opportunity to cancel your subscription. Everyone does this.
Asante, have you tried to unsubscribe to a YouTube premium?
Just like the FTC was trying to use the whole Bethesda thing as a way of big tech bad, and it was the wrong call to make.
Yeah.
Same thing they're doing here. Now, much like with the FTC and big tech bad, there was a fundamental core value that was genuine, but then they had their BS rhetoric around it to kind of sour it a bit, right? In this case with Amazon, same thing, because they have a point, right? Amazon, through COVID and all of that, have basically killed brick and mortar. Good luck trying to find a bookstore that's not Barnes and Noble, right? So they have a reason to not like Amazon. But exactly as in the case of Microsoft, they don't have a case that actually threads the needle for them. So they're making one up. Same thing they're doing here with this. And obviously, we see what's going on in the Microsoft case. They're making it up. It's a big case, so no one's letting them get away with it. Maybe in the Amazon case, no one cares enough about the balls and strikes, so they'll get away with it there. But that literally is what's happening in both cases. There's the fundamental core value of, hey, we're allowing them to go too far and too wide. We need to rein them in. All right, well, how can we do that? Do we have a case that we can use, that we can leverage to stop them? No, we don't. All right, well, we'll use the delay tactics. That's part of our process. We'll take him to an administrative court, bring him back. Take him to administrative court, bring him back. We won't take him to a federal court because that could potentially ruin our ability to slow the ball down. What else will we do? Oh, when our own judges say what we have no case, yeah, then we'll make sure that our own judges no longer have the teeth to tell us we're not able to do it anymore. Right? This is what they're doing. They are not actually coming to you with the actual proper arguments to stop the case. They're just doing everything around it to try and let the case stop itself because, hey, this is a time bomb after all, and ABK wants to get paid. Maybe if we wait long enough, they themselves will go, it's a different ground that we are in today than we were when they first started this, right? We're in a ground now where what do you call it? Diablo 4 gangbusters, right? We're in a world now where WoW players happy, right? We're in a world where Overwatch is doing way better than it was before. A year ago when all this started, all we heard was Kotick is the devil and all their games suck, right? Where are we now? Kotick is silent as a mouse and all their games are great. And when their games are great, it means they're worth more. So maybe if the time for renegotiation comes up, Microsoft may not want that, right? So this all is really, 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 really in the tea when they're having these conversations, right? They don't care about winning properly. They just want this case to go away. And if they wait long enough, maybe those who have skin in the game, those who are getting paid in the game, those who are now looking at their stocks compared to last year and going, hey, ABK is worth way more than it was. Maybe we can get more than what Microsoft is offering. They're what do you call it? Khan and her organization is hoping that that's what will kill the deal for them. Will it work? I hope not, because that would be a horrible precedent to set. Because by and large, I really don't care if this case goes through or not, because ABK personally to me does not really mean Microsoft gets anything better. But for the sheer nature of righteousness and what established precedent is, if this does not succeed, we are going to be through the looking glass, and nothing. The up will be down will be up. Cats and dogs living together, pandemonium, right? For everyone's normal, status quo, for business, for food, for industry, for pharmaceutical, for wherever the hell you care about. This case needs to succeed, because if it doesn't, it sets a very, very dangerous precedent that can come and bite us in the butt outside of video games. So that's it for me.
I mean, listen, it's a strong point, but listen, Everborn is not going to be able to join us tonight. Unfortunately, he's got some family stuff. He's good, family's good, but he's got to take care of family. So obviously, we'll get him back here next week, and I'll post up
slanderous one.
Yes, and obviously we will hopefully get at some point get post up, on one of these upcoming shows once this is done. But we still obviously have about 30 minutes before the show ends, so I do want to kind of just get the feel of the room from the chat and feel the room from my brothers here. Tom Warren, obviously, of The Verge, good friend of the program, great friend of the community. He posted something on his Twitter account, kind of playbooking what tomorrow is going to bring. And I want to get everyone's, what your feel is, because according to Tom Warren, who will be there, I believe is going to be there covering it, he says this: the FTC versus Microsoft will kick off with opening statements tomorrow morning, 20 minutes from each party. And we'll be hearing from Xbox Game Studios chief Matt Booty, Bethesda's Pete Hines, and Sarah Bond, head of Xbox Creator Experience. And obviously, those are pretty big executives that are going to be, testifying in defense of the deal. Something that the FTC, Hargeet, did not want them to do, which is, I don't know, why wouldn't you want C-level executives talking about a deal that's ultimately going to benefit consumers? Where, again, okay, Game Pass did go up at $17 now. We talked about that. But when you ultimately think about it, the FTC is supposed to protect consumers and give us the best value. Now, it has been heard and has been spoken about how, according to Lena Khan, consumers are not important. What's important is stopping big tech. And that is pretty ridiculous when you think about it. What, based on what we've heard so far, what you've seen of the case, the FTC's, the weak source is just being polite at this point of what they have. What do you expect is going to happen with these C-level executives tomorrow?
Well, I mean, they'll be self-serving, obviously, right? This is going to be Xbox talking about Xbox, so they'll have to be truthful if there's anything that comes up that's that maybe not beneficial to Microsoft's case, but overall, it's going to be very beneficial to Microsoft's case, right? So that's kind of what I would expect, right? It's going to be a lot of things that showcase why this is a good deal for not only Microsoft as a competitor, but for the industry as a whole. So that's kind of what you'd expect from them, right? And I think some of this is like the FTC wants to have them tell us about why games are exclusive, and the whole thing to me is just so nuts. It's like this is just a part of normal gaming. Like exclusives exist. That's the way it is. They bought them. That's the way it is. The whole argument just is stupid to me. Like ultimately, even if say everything Activision was shut down, does that mean the gaming industry goes away? There's literally millions of games. Millions. This is a small subset. We're talking hundreds to thousands of games. This is nothing in comparison to the massive gaming industry. If all of it went away today, if Activision, Blizzard King all had to foreclose and die, they just got bankrupt, gaming would continue. It's not the end of the world. It's just not. It's not the end of the world, right? This entire thing just makes no sense. If Bethesda shut down, which it could have, by the way, it was in financial distress. That's why they were doing it Fallout 76. That's why they were doing ESO. That's why they were doing Redfall. They wanted to get into the services games because they were running out of money, right? So that could have happened with the game industry. Hell no, it would not. Come on. Like this whole thing just blows my mind. So essentially, the picture that the FTC is painting is Microsoft is too big to buy anything because they shouldn't even be in anything because they're too big. And that's just not, it's just not an effective argument.
Well, that's not American business. Hell, that's not a business around the world. That's ridiculous.
And Microsoft's core case here, which I don't know if they even realize it, is they need to get into mobile. And it's not even just for gaming. They need to get into mobile so that they can challenge Apple and Google, right? And they try to
do duopoly right now. Right.
Yeah, they tried with Windows Mobile. That did not happen. And the reason was the apps, the App Store, right? What are they trying to get here? An App Store. That's the core here. This is their way to accelerate that thing, right? So if you have, like apps that people want, games are one avenue for that, right? Yes, there's Office productivity stuff, but nobody's excited to get Office. They're more excited to play Candy Crush. They're more excited to play Warzone. That's just a reality, right? And if you can start building that, if you can start bringing other games into it, and then you bring all the other people and say, hey, you know what? We'll change the market share dynamic, and instead of 70-30, we'll do it 90-10. Come out to our store. You can be in the other store. We don't care. That's fine. Come out to our store too, right? And suddenly they start growing, and that's what their vision is, right? They want that mobile, right? They also want the PC, but they want that mobile. That's the big deal to them. So the whole point of this is that it's mobile, and they're not seeing it. They're talking about all these stupid little things like this doesn't matter. Anyway, so that this is it. When those executives talks, it's going to be about like what they do to try to expand their market share, obviously, but also work within the ecosystem. It's not Pete Hines is still putting games out on PlayStation. He's putting games out on Switch. They're putting games everywhere, right? So whatever, that's still happening. They're putting games out in Steam. They haven't stopped that. So like, what are they really going to say that's going to hurt Microsoft? I don't know. The only thing I can think of is the email that says we have a vision to actually take down our competitor. Okay, I'm so surprised that exists. Like, okay, whatever. That's
well, Hargeet, quick question about that email, which I think you're right about, that they want to make hay here, and of course, Mr. Everborn Saga isn't here, so here's my conspiracy theory, my tinfoil hat when I heard this, right? When I heard that email and I heard its debunking, the very next thing that justified to me was why Jim wasn't going to be there. Because if you're going to use that email against them, the first question they ask Jim in cross-examining is, so was this you 100%. Who don't care about a deal? You just want to kill the whole thing? because that's
Or-
actual hay that can be used against him.
Or all sorts of discovery that they would be legally entitled to go get the exact same thing that Sony has, because you
Yes.
know they're doing that.
Yes, and
right?
the difference
so you
is
would get
Sony
all
will
their
have
email.
that. The difference is Sony will actually have that earnestly. I bet earnestly somewhere going, oh, we gonna screw these dudes. Whereas Microsoft, yeah, you'll catch it because they can't help themselves but fall and hit the idiot branch on the way down. So they'll say something stupid, but by and large, they won't be as malicious. You'll definitely probably catch that from Sony, though.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yep. And
So what do you think of that? I think because this email thing made hay, that's when they went, yeah, we shouldn't have Jim come up there, because the question they may ask him may really screw us.
yeah, and it's an interesting question of whether they, Microsoft on the, says, hey, why can't we cross-examine their
Mhm.
witness, right? We would like to do that. That's part of jurisprudence as well. So
Yeah.
why do they get to have an evidentiary witness that we can't talk to? That seems kind of odd, right?
I think it's
But-
because there's an absence of a jury. I think that's probably
Yes.
why.
Yeah, they have more options because it's not an official trial with a jury
Right.
and all of that. Yeah. But
yeah,
I
so
think
they
it's
would have to
interesting
submit
because
their own, right?
exactly.
That would-
That's
yeah.
exactly
So,
it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly
they'd have to
it.
submit
But
their own
the
evidence
reason
to
why I
counter
bring it
it.
up is because they're trying to use that email as hey to go, see, they're trying to screw us. When in fact, the CEO of gaming for Sony has been caught saying exactly that. But now you can't talk to him about it.
Right.
Right.
But
I
they-
mean, maybe
but
that
hopefully they
comes
can
up
bring it, though.
tomorrow, though. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because at some point, maybe they do say, "Well, we want to hear from Jim Ryan because,
Yeah.
Your Honor, he said this, and this is confirmed."
Mhm.
Again, remember this is a 5-day. Yesterday's was one of the days. There's still 4 more days, from what we understand. So,
Was yesterday one of the 5 days? I think that was just a
today was just
start,
a pre-trial. So maybe it's
pre-
5 more
pre-trial,
days
right?
afterwards. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
it's
you're,
so
you're
4.5
correct.
days from now, right? So
Yeah.
I see some people in the chat asking how they can find out if there are any updates of what's happening in the trial. Because some of them are asking, they're like, "Are these guys actually watching the trial?" I'm like, "No, we're not watching it.
No,
Clearly,
no.
it's not."
Fox
So-
Patents,
there is-
seriously, he's like minute by minute, whatever. He keeps telling
There
us
it
stuff.
is.
So I would.
Well,
There it is.
besides,
go
in
follow
addition
him.
to Foss, and Foss has
Yeah.
been amazing, but
Yeah.
there have been Zoom links that we have been watching, like the UK one. We
Yeah.
watched all of it. The American one, they had a Zoom link with only audio. They let us get on there. We listened for about 20 minutes, and they went, "Oh, you guys are here for the Microsoft thing. Yeah, we're not doing that today. Get off the line. Goodbye." And they
Right.
hung up on
Yeah.
us. So
Okay, chat. So
there is a
you guys
chance
have
that
some
you will be
options.
able, you will be
real
able to
quick,
get the video. for
we got 700
the
people
audio.
here. If you're interested, I literally just dropped a Twitter link for Fox
There it is.
Patents.
There you go.
Go click on that.
Mhm.
Follow him. He's literally now he's out of. Where is he located? Is he in Europe?
I think it's Austria.
Germany.
Austria?
Germany or
because
I thought
Yeah,
it was Germany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, it is
One of
yeah,
those, yeah.
Yeah, he flew here for this, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah, well-
literally boots on the ground in the courtroom, folks.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
What if he's actually
honestly,
Jim Ryan in disguise?
it could very
Maybe
well
that's
be.
what's happening.
It very well be. I see some people asking in the chat what this game is. Shadow Warrior 3 and Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
My God.
A lot of fun, man. I love that game.
Yeah.
Wow. Like I
It went on
kinda
a
need,
little too long, but I did finish it. But yeah,
I
it's
loved
a
it.
little too long.
it is astoundingly fun. I mean,
Yep.
look, folks, look at the graphics. This is running at 1080p. So just imagine if on your super duper TV running on your X, what it's going to look like. It's astoundingly good. Like I played the first 2 and I thought they were okay. And I saw this and I'm like, I need a palate cleanser after Planet of Lana and Zelda. I want something fast, something Doom-like. So I said,
Yep.
let me try this. And after the first 5 minutes, I was like, my God, where's this game been in my whole life? I
Yep.
can't believe it.
Yeah, it's too bad they
I-
didn't go up with this one. I like
Oh.
the co-op.
I loved this game. It was a great game. And it was one of those
It's-
things, same thing, Boom. 5 minutes. I'm like, let me just give it a shot. And I just finished the whole game in like a couple of days because I couldn't put the damn thing down. And I'm like, it is so addictive. And
It's an
got
IP that
Doom-
prioritizes gameplay fun over everything else.
Yeah.
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 And like even if the execution animations and stuff are like a little bit repetitive, as I've seen like the Sub-Zero spine rip like 100 times since we've been doing the show, doesn't matter. Doesn't get old. It
The
doesn't
reason
get
why you
old.
see that is because when you do that, it doubles
Yes.
your life.
Yes.
You didn't know. So that's why
Yep.
you see me doing it a lot. Because like when you go into, like, for instance, this thing on the samurai head, when you go and you rip out his heart, You throw the heart like a grenade, and it's like a disco ball, and lasers are all over. Some of the supers that you
Are
can
amazing.
get from are freaking bonkers.
Yeah,
Like
those eyeball ones were pretty gruesome too.
Yeah, the eyeball one
Yeah.
that flies around and just cuts everyone to pieces. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a
Play
great
this
game.
game. It's an Xbox Game Pass right now.
It's in
folks.
Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, play it. It's worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Hargeet, real quick, brother. Do you want to add anything else to the context of what you were saying?
Yeah, so I know there was the question from Buck. I don't know if we want to go to the second one he asked, but for the
Yeah,
first
you know
one,
what? Hold on. Let me pull it up. I got all the super chats right here. In fact, Buck says, well, first of all, Sir X-Man says, boom, I played all 3 Shadow Warriors, and I love that series. And Buck asked this, Hargeet, Ted Cruz announced the GOP probe into abusive power charges on Khan. Both bodies of Congress investigating Khan. Morale at FTC must be at rock bottom.
It is, yeah. We're hearing that is the case. I mean, look, like you know, these lawyers that are doing this aren't exactly there in earnest. They don't really believe in the case, but they're being told they have to do it, and that's the way it is, right? So the morale can't be good when you have to do something you really, really don't like. It just is what it's just not fun, right? It used to be very, very high morale, right? So where they are now, it kind of stinks. A lot of people are just running, they're bailing, but that's just not good for the FTC itself. But that's kind of where they are. It's very disappointing. It's good that there's some investigations of it. I don't know what will come of it, but there are it needs to be revamped. They're down both the Republican commissioners. It's a joke at this point. They basically are. If anybody big is buying anybody, you should just stop it. Though I'm curious why they didn't stop Sony from buying anybody then, because aren't they kind of big? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But hey, whatever. I guess they don't count because they're Japanese.
So a quick aside, and I'll put it in the chat. I have the link that's going to be reused, the Zoom link that will be reused for this proceeding. Doesn't mean they'll do it, but if they do use it, if there is a Zoom ability, it won't be a new Zoom link. It'll be the one they've already published, and that's this one. So if you care and you want to hear
it's one that I doubt will happen because I think they're gonna discuss private information that's not supposed to be public.
Yeah, they may not. But if they do, this is the link they will use.
There it is. Guys, I just saw it pop in. Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah. So it is interesting that they're doing that. The House has already been doing that. Again, I don't know where any of that goes. We also have an election. That's the ultimate way to fix this problem, right? So whether it's a new Democrat president or a Republican, whatever it is, but that could potentially change this. Biden could have a change of heart. We don't know, right? But it's unlikely. I think he's got the person he wants right now, and that's the way it'll be until 2025. But yeah, so this could be interesting if they do anything about it, and that's the part that kind of, there's just I don't know if they will actually go that far. But lately there's been a lot of weird things that happen. So, but yeah, as far as like the trial, I mean, I think it's gonna go fine. They have 4.5 days of trial. I don't know that they need all of it, but we'll find out. And I think the judge has kind of already got an inkling as to where this is gonna go.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too. And again, I'm not doing a ticket tape parade by any stretch of the truth, because obviously we have all been following this, especially if you're a podcaster. You've been following this. You've been reading every document. You've been putting it out there. You've been putting in the work as if we're lawyers. We're not lawyers. We're gamers. Yeah. But I can say with full authority that it does seem the feeling from just the way Judge Corley has been talking, some of the information that we have that came out today, it does seem like it's going to go in Microsoft's favor, because ultimately there is nothing illegal about the deal. There is no Clayton Act violations. There's nothing.
They're not big enough in any way, right?
No.
So the other thing that's very important to note here is this judge was chosen because she's already been working on the gamers lawsuit.
Yes.
Which means she's very versant on all of this already, right? So the FTC is going to bring their case, but part of whatever the FTC said, the gamers already brought. Yep. And so she's been talking to the Microsoft lawyers. She's been talking to the gamers lawsuit, right? So she knows the case already, right? So it's going to take a lot to convince her that, what is being done here is so harmful to the market, because it's not about big bad tech. It's what does this do to consumers? What does it do to the market, right? And that's the whole point of this. So there's a civil lawsuit with the gamers. This is now more of the FTC bringing an injunction. So it's possible she would agree to that, but she is very versant of what this is. So that is a big hurdle that Microsoft does not have to, deal with. She already knows what this is about, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about the little nuances of what the FTC is bringing as cases of substantial lessening of competition, and whether they merit enough of a look through to say yes, we should have an injunction or not, right? Because this will hurt the market so much if Microsoft were to close this, that we should stop it and let the FTC case go forward, right? So that's what they have to prove. It's very unlikely because, again, one thing to also note is the CMA does have the ability to do forward look. FTC does not. So you can't say that a market like, say, cloud gaming that is non-existent is a problem. In the US, it's not something you can really say. You can think it doesn't matter, but you can't actually stop something based on something that does not exist. The CMA can do that. That's part of their thing. But here, that's not something. So it's going to be very hard for them to bring a real threat to the market, right? To say this will end gaming and they will own everything. That's just crazy talk. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
So, and real quick, by the way, I will cede my time to Hargeet because he's literally said everything I wanted to say about this.
It was the same thing. I was just like, what am I going to say now?
I will add one piece, and then I will just cede the rest of my time to Hargeet.
I had one last piece, but go ahead.
Well, maybe I'll say what you're going to say right now, which is this happens to be the judge who has already thrown out an exactly similar case, except that case but was by the gamers, right? And he threw them out. What did they do? FTC just added Bethesda to the existing case that's already been thrown out.
Yep.
They added a few nuggets of Bethesda, but they said, and they gave the exact same thing to the judge who's already thrown it out the first time. Good luck.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to add is to keep in mind that we assume that ABK is the biggest publisher from the $70 billion. Mm-hmm. But remember, this is 3 publishers, not 1. Yeah. The biggest publisher is actually EA. Mm-hmm. So the largest publisher still stays independent. And is still out there, right? And has a magnitude of games that are worldwide, very heavily played, right?
The phenomenons, all of them, yeah,
right, yeah, like your FIFAs, your Maddens, like they have lots of games that are very highly played, and Apex, right? So they're not A or B or K are not the biggest publishers. It's just combined they are a big publisher, right? But there are 3 publishers that they're buying. But either way, I just wanted to point that out too. So if the FTC says this is too big, it's like, well, no, there's a bigger one. There's right there. This is the bigger one right here. So nice try. Yeah. But either way.
Well, and you know what's interesting to that point? There is Sony, the market leader, who have posted record number sales of PlayStation that have never been hit in the brand's existence. Think about that for a second, folks. March and April were 2 of, and one trumped the other, meaning that March was amazing, but April was even better. You're talking over 400+% in some regions, and it by fact the greatest PlayStation gains in its history. So when you consider that, I don't see the ABK deal being that big of a deal. But let me see. I pulled some stuff here, of course. So let's bring in the mag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some big C-level executives are being cross-examined and brought in for witnesses tomorrow. How do you see that going, in your opinion? Because obviously Hargeet has a drop dead points of view, but I want to get your take. What are your expectations for tomorrow?
First of all, I don't think this is going to go to the full 5. Was it 5 days?
5 days. Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't even think it's going to make it past 2. To be quite honest, I think by day 3, you're already going to know what's going on. Maybe not us, but I mean, it's certainly going to be. I think it's going to be wrapped up before that. That's my personal feeling. I think even like a golfer, they lick their finger and they put their finger. You know what I mean? Like get just kind of like getting the feel for what's going on. You can kind of get that vibe from a distance that the judge is going to do her due diligence. Clearly, obviously. But you don't get in that position by not doing your due diligence. I just have a feeling that she's going to basically go through the motions. This is going to work out to Microsoft's benefit, and it's going to, you know what I mean? It's going to get passed. and FTC is going to be denied. Maybe there'll be some, what the hell's that word? Yeah, maybe some concessions or something. But I don't think that that she's going to waste anybody's time here. However, she's going to hear everybody out. And it's very interesting that, listen, they're bringing out the big guns now. You got Satya Nadella going there. You've got the CEO of gaming going there, Phil Spencer, right? Who else is going there? You got
Amy Hood is going to be there as well.
Amy Hood as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you got some big names going on here. Okay. So, listen, they've been coached. Okay. But they also know what they're talking about. This is their business. This is their job. This is their passion, right? And so when they talk like that, it's the same as you and I and Hargeet and Asante and Everborn and anybody else who's crossed through this show at any point in time over the years. What do we, our knowledge and the way we talk is because it's something that we're passionate about, right? And therefore it could be incredibly convincing, right? And sound, right? It's not like they're just going to go out there and, that's what I'm saying. Like, the FTC seems to be unrehearsed, unprepared, and again, they don't have much. God, that execution was amazing, by the way. Like I said, they're unrehearsed, they're unprepared. That's the way it comes across, and they're trying to manipulate the situation in a fashion that they would see fit. But clearly, it's not going to end up working. Anyway, and then you see Microsoft relaxed. Look at what Brad Smith said. We look forward to our day in court. Did he not say that a week ago?
He sure did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? As soon as he says something like that with such, calm, cool, collective, we look forward to our day in court. That is not, those aren't the words, and that's not the characteristics of somebody who's scared, desperate, and afraid of losing the situation, right? They know 100% that everything that they've got, and they're ready to go. So there really is nothing I could say about it. I'm just saying that it's going to be interesting. I'd love to hear what they're going to say. Obviously, I'm working, but I'll get the updates throughout the day, either in our chat.
I'll be sending you in a private DM, brother. I'll keep you abreast.
Yeah, I'd love to know, because I know you guys will be all over it, right? So, even in the PTG chat and whatever, just check out all these links. I'd be very interested to see what happens, what Phil says, what Satya says. And someone's actually said in the chat something very interesting about Satya Nadella. He had met him several times, I think. He's a megalodon. He's not a great white shark when it comes to business.
Highlander 001 wrote that tweet. Very, very interesting take from him. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there you go. And Boom, you've said it a million times. Speak quietly, walk with a big stick, right? Indeed. So that seems to be what's going to be the case here. However, like I said, it'll be very interesting to see how this all goes down. But I say it's not even going to make it to the 5 days. At all. Now, I want to say something that I caught you saying right at the end before you brought this back into that conversation was, by the way, I wasn't sleeping. Okay, a couple of people said, you know why? Because I had my head tilted down to my hat like this when Hargeet was talking.
Has a likely story for life, by the way.
Oh my God,
story, sir.
I know it was OCD Gamer and oh my God, I can't remember who else it was. Brett Bingham. And because I was looking down at a screen down here and it looked like I was sleeping. They're like, is Mag sleeping? And I'm like, no, I'm not sleeping.
Shout out to Brett Bingham.
Thanks, Brett. There he is. He's there. So anyways, here's the thing. You said something about Sony in regards to doing really well and, with their sales going up, 400% in Europe and other places like that. They're doing incredibly well. However, the reason why they're not worried, the reason why they're worried is that I don't think they're worried that Microsoft is going to purchase ABK and have control of, in particular, Call of Duty. Let's just say we're just going to pull out Call of Duty. What they're afraid of is losing the marketing. Yes. And that's what they're afraid of at the end of the 100%. Day. It's not the game, because the game will be available to play, and people on PlayStation or who only own PlayStation will continue to get to play it. The problem is, and we've seen it already this year, look at the top 10 games that have come out this year, the sales, right? So the top 10 games that have come out and have done the best, most of them, if not almost all of them, I'd say about 80% of them were multi-plat games, right? Did you also happen to notice that 80% of those multi-plat games that are in the top 10 selling games of this year were Sony marketed?
100%.
And they sold 3-1 over Xbox. That includes, and I quote, Resident Evil 4 Remake. That includes Hogwarts Legacy. Those are the two big ones. And they were selling copies, digital or physical otherwise, 3-1 over Xbox. That, my dear friends, is what they're worried about. Yeah. They're worried about that because then what happens is Call of Duty, in its own strange way, almost has come across as an exclusive to PlayStation when you're
Indeed, it
selling
has.
that many copies over. But that all is dependent not only on the ecosystem and where your friends are, but it's also incredibly dependent on the marketing. And that's what they're afraid of losing at the end of the day. Not the game. They're going to have the game. It's that
I agree.
marketing. Sorry, that's all I had to say about that.
No, great stuff. Listen, Keisante, let's get your personal hot take. What are your expectations for the three big C-level executives, joining the fray, if you will, of tomorrow's proceedings?
Honestly, I think this is just a full court press. This is Microsoft. They are very big on marketing, as we all know. They are bigger in PR than we think they should be, right? I think Hargeet wants them to be a bit more militant, right? But they are so much in that PR game that this is them pulling a full court press, just like they did before, waving the what do you call it? The contracts in the air and all of that. This is them saying, look, we're here for the gamers. It's all about the gamers. We know it's all about the money, but they speak like it's all about the gamers. And in doing so, they're going to bring the booty out. They're going to bring Phil Spencer out. They're going to bring anybody and everybody that speaks to this. I expect the closer in this situation will probably be somebody like Sarah Bond, who can speak about those things and speak in a very affecting way that doesn't give you that, oh, they're pandering to us, right? She seems to have that ability to say things that normally people think are pandering, but when she says it, it sounds earnest, right?
Yeah.
She does it all the time, and people really love that she's able to connect with the consumer that way. Whereas when Jim Ryan says something similar, you're like, shut up, Jim. Here's my money, go away, right? Even when Phil says that, you'd say something similar. So I honestly think them coming out here and saying and all of this is Microsoft trying to pull out all the stops to go, look, this is not us being malicious. This is us trying to show you how serious we are. The money warrants it. We're doing the best we can to make sure that, we get the outcome we want. So, Amy Hood's going to be there speaking about the money. Phil Spencer's going to be there. Matt Booty's going to be there. Satya Nadella most likely will, if need be, will speak. They want, like, the narrative around what's happening with them is, oh, big bad company. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. They're big and they're evil, right?
Yeah.
Hargeet was like, why is it that PlayStation was able to buy a company and nobody said anything? Yeah, because the big monster in the room was making a $70 billion purchase. When that huge shadow covers you, you can do any bad thing you want, and that $70 billion shadow continues to cover you, right? So they tend to be the big evil company in the room by perception and by reputation, and not necessarily by action, because they've stopped being the big bad wolf a long time ago, right? So to me, this is them being as earnest as they try to be. Hopefully we get to see some of that. We get to hear some of what was said and all of that. Just like Brad Smith is out there going, look, we're here to sign. We're here to do this. We're here to do that. Expect a lot of the same thing from all of them.
Yeah.
Will it work? It should, but you can't account for crazy. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where this all goes.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, if you're wondering what I'm doing tomorrow at noon, I'm going to be sitting down with several people on the new episode of X Vlog Live. And of course, one of the people is making his prize return, C Money from Mario Kart Madman on YouTube. Well, he joined me last Thursday, and the guy is aces. Actually podcasts with his entire family, his wife, his daughter, and his son, which is amazing.
Cool.
That is ultra cool. But you know who we're going to be sitting down with? Because I needed to bring in someone who taught me a hashtag that has taken over the world. That is for Xbox gamers to hold the line, because tomorrow I'm going to be chilling with King David as well. And he's coming in raw and uncut, as you would expect. And we're going to be talking about Jim Ryan, and some of the things that he said he did. Is
the general going to be here? Please promise me that the whole episode is just going to be the general.
The general. I mean, we might get Jamaican Jim. You never know when he's going to show up, because obviously if King is there, Jamaican Jim is right around the corner.
Not too far behind.
Never too far behind. But the general is expected to show up, and we're going to give him the red carpet treatment tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, Breakfast with Boom. We will be covering all of this on Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But let me get to these last super chats, and we'll get everyone out of here, and at a reasonable time, no less. We had Spartan Ghost _17. Spartan, welcome to the program, brother. He drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, Phil shouldn't rest until he has Jim Ryan's resignation letter. Get that man crying on your desk, asking for a buyout. That journalist is blacklisted now, too. Yeah, I don't know if, Stephen Totillo is pretty big with Axios. I'll be honest with you, like, he doesn't know who I am. Everyone knows who Steven is. I have respect for him. I lost a little bit of respect yesterday. I thought, considering his background in journalism, he should have known better, to be honest with you, to run with that narrative. Axios is big enough where they don't have to stoop down to, like, some of the, the media nonsense. He doesn't need to do that, and he did it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was a bit disappointed. Spartan Ghost drops an additional £2 super chat and says, FTC tactic was to tire out Microsoft or tire Microsoft out. Never had a case. Yeah, that's what they tried to do, and thankfully they buckled when Microsoft suggested they would close over them, and that's why they're at federal court. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, one of my first lessons my father taught me was if it was important enough, you will make time to get to it. Jim Ryan not showing up shows his contempt. I think there's definitely some and Michael Mooney, this is for the mag. He drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, was the word that you were looking for gaslighting?
It's a form of gaslighting. It's known as media manipulation, and it's not the media manipulation where they broadcast out to the people. It's something that's done. It's also known as journalistic manipulation, so that they can present something to you and then make statements, and then twist a question in a way that you answer the way they want you to. So it's almost like brainwashing in a way. It's actually quite brilliant. If anybody, for the people that actually can pull it off, it's pretty amazing to watch. Lawyers are especially good at it, right? So it's originally been called, but gaslighting is a form of journalistic manipulation. Yes. Sorry.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, good stuff. Highlander 001 drops not one but two $5 super chats. The first one, he says, I have met Satya Nadella 7 times since his son's funeral. When it comes to business, this man is not a great white shark. He is a megalodon. Someone actually, you guys said that before. Yeah, he smiles, but that guy is a tactician. Let's not make any mistakes. And when he gets up on that stand, if they need him, well, you know what you're going to get. He goes on to say in the second super chat, EA is splitting with EA Sports Games, and EA Publishing is one division. All of EA's other games are another division. That's very interesting. I saw that. I gotta look into that and see what that's about, because they're splitting EA, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Weird, right? Internal split into two different entities inside. Very strange.
Very, very strange. Spartan Ghost drops an additional £2 super chat and says, Jim Ryan ran off like a damn coward. Laughable. And Michael Mooney drops an additional £5 super chat and says, Games Radar is reporting that Sony will refuse PlayStation 6 info to Activision if ABK deal passes.
Yeah. I saw that, which is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. Because there's no way that's not going to happen. There's no way. That's a ridiculous sentiment. Because what you're saying then is, oh, you don't want Call of Duty on PS6. That's a lie. You're definitely come on.
It's just dumb. Yeah. Spartan Ghost drops an additional £2 super chat and says, Mag, are you talking about media spin?
Also the same idea. Yeah. Yes. It's all basically thrown in there. Spin is a little different. Spin is something that they use for, like, let's say a YouTube video or for the headlines. And that's why a lot of people don't read articles. They just read the headlines and react to the headlines. So it's all something that's why people do that. They do it specifically to rope you in, right? But this is a little bit different, because now this is something that they utilize on a one-on-one basis in person.
Basically, they corner you into saying what they want you to say without telling you
Same
to
like
say.
same like a detective.
Yeah.
Can do the same thing.
I wasn't a detective. I was a regular popo, and I just chased people with guns. That's what I did. Listen, that's going to do it for Primetime Gaming, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Crazy great cast. Let's start with outros. And Mag, you're here for outros. Holy magic!
Can you imagine? I didn't have to run away. Yes, I'm on. We're
Again,
on time,
great, great show with Colt
Yes.
as expected. I was hoping to have Pony Master 420 here, but I just got confirmation that he refuses to show up on camera until Jim Ryan blocks this deal personally. Obviously, sell your brand, Mag. Talk about where people can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, where they could find you on Monday evenings.
Well, of course, first and foremost, you'll find me here on Wednesdays on Primetime Gaming, of course, 7 p.m. Eastern. Anybody in the chat or anybody listening to after, that's where you can catch us live here each and every single week. And then, of course, Monday nights, you can find me on the XNC podcast with none other than Colt Eastwood. We are 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's every Monday, of course. So, anyways, it's been great. As for Pony Master 420, he's been taking a little hiatus. Summer gets a little crazy around the Mag's house, right? So, and between work and like holidays and all kinds of stuff, so it's wild time for me. But anyways, you know where to find me. You know where you can catch me. You know what? If you want any of my thoughts and opinions, you can always DM me. You can find me on PlayStation. You can find me on Xbox or on Xbox, on PlayStation, and then you can find me in my arcade sometimes playing over here. So bring your quarters. Have a good time, guys. Everybody, have a great night. We'll all talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow, Mag.
Yes, please. Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
I'll keep you in the loop. Shout out to Lethal Papa, one of the best mods in the business. This guy keeps this chat as fun and friendly as you see it. And like I said, we've been very fortunate, and I should say Mrs. Boom and I have been incredibly fortunate that he's here for almost every show. And you know what? Very fair dude, but walks silently, carries a really big bat and a band stick. And if you're an a-hole, he bans you. And, well, don't be an a-hole. Shout out to you, Lethal. But Hargeet Chani, please sell the brand of Game On Daily. Like I said, the growth has been really special. Obviously, Gaz is just is a dynamite kind of a person. He does have a crazy side. It's Gaz, just expect that. And, of course, Asa, the silent assassin. Don't let that silent dude fool you. He'll cut your throat. But talk about Game On Daily and where could we expect potentially some sauce videos in the future?
Oh, there'll be sauce videos, of course. But yeah, so the Game On Daily. So youtube.com/GameOnDaily, GameOnDaily.com. It's a nice news aggregation platform for those who are looking to get their game news. Sign up, set it up so you can get your curated news that you like. And then RDX, though we had some technical difficulties yesterday. Dealer had some issues with his mic and some other issues. I don't know. So it just wasn't working. So we ended up not doing RDX yesterday. But we'll do that next week. Tuesdays 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and then Zealots of Gaming tomorrow will be coming back. So that'll be 8 o'clock Thursdays at U.S. Eastern Time. Then of course, right here, Primetime Gaming, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time.
How are you guys doing at Zealots? And who do you work with over there? Because I think that's a fine young man over there that you work with.
Yeah, Zocker 87, and we have So Shady. So check it out. We're all kind of opinionated, and we kind of go back and forth. It's an interesting mix, and so hopefully it's entertaining.
Okay.
We seem to be getting quite an audience, which is great. If people want to check it out, come on by.
Excellent, brother. Love that you're doing your thing with those two gentlemen. And it's great to have you a part of this show each and every week. Hargeet, thank you so much for being here. And last and no way least, look at him. Nice. The beard is trimmed. The hair is trimmed. He's ready to rock and roll. Sell your brand, Kay Asante. Saturday morning, the Gaming Circle podcast. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with the slanderous one who was apparently playing bad cop today. We'll talk tomorrow. We'll get about what his bad cop was about. But
understood.
Sell your brand, brother. Talk about
it. No, we've been having so much fun on our show, and I have another show. Actually, I should mention as well. This weekend will be really fun. As you know, we're in the end game, as it were. So there are a lot of balls and strikes happening in the world of ABK. So come check us out. Myself and Everborn Saga, we like to spend a lot of time reading through the documents. We breathe deep these docs to translate them and make sure that folks are kept up to date with all the balls and strikes going on in these here gaming streets. So that is usually Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some guests sometimes, as the dust settles, we may have a few more guests that'll pop up. I'm actually pretty excited about one guest that I already have lined up that's going to be coming up. People,
I
really
know some secrets, but I am not willing to talk.
Yes, sir. Really cool stuff. We're super excited. I will also say, if you have a chance to come check out the other show I'm doing now, it is, I would say, I'm calling it PCMR 101. It is for those who may not necessarily game on PC, or maybe you have a ROG Ally,
Right,
you got yourself a new device, and you want to know how things work. You want some tips. You want to talk to some other gamers who just have fresh experiences with this new device. Come check us out. Monday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself and John Wolf, we do the Gamers Playground, and we're having a great time doing so. We had the official first episode last Monday. Great episode. Lots of people came out. Lots of people supported. We love talking about games and all of that. Don't get all the ridiculous talking points that these console heathens may be misconstruing. Come talk to us, because gaming is easy everywhere, including on PC. So come check us out. And that is Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, Wednesdays here with the brothers on PTG. Always great time. So great that everybody was able to come here. Such numbers that we're hitting, and hopefully we'll get more of you to come back again on next Wednesday. So really exciting stuff.
Well, listen, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I got a shout out, man. A ton of super chats came in today. I can't thank you enough for that. Obviously, you know the deal. We use it for big giveaways. We have at the end of the year, we're giving away $2,000 in 2 months. We're doing $1,000 in December for the holiday show, and two $500 shows in September and November. And that doesn't even count the 15 copies of Stalker 2 that we're going to give away, that we're buying at full price. And of course, that will be done. You'll be doing a very special giveaway, a launch party, if you will, and giving away 15 of those copies to PC and PC or Xbox, your choice. And we couldn't do that without the channel memberships that continue to come in. And of course, the super chats that we kind of tuck away until we do these big giveaways. So, of course, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And, of course, more importantly than even that, I want to say something that was taught to me as a kid. I think now, the way the world is and how violent it could be, it's worth more now than ever. My dad always used to say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.